to Pennsylvania County Board of Supervisors business meeting, Tuesday, February 18th, 2025. It is now 7:10. Thank you for your patience. Board meeting room, 39 Bank Street, Southeast Chatham, Virginia, 24531. Ms. McCluster, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Bowman.
Here.
Mr. Dalton.
Here.
Mr. Dudley.
Present.
Mr. Ingram.
Here.
Mr. Whittle. Mr. Height.
Here.
Mr. Tucker.
Here. Thank you so much. Would you join me in a moment of silence, please? Thank you. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. To my colleagues, let's see. Any items to be added to the agenda?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. On 5, I want to make a motion to add the resolution to adopt the tax rates as agenda item 13A under matters from our work session, and to add the approval of the bead letters of support for Zytel, Brightspeed, and Verizon to the consent agenda, sir. That's my motion.
All right, sir. Let's see. Mr. Dudley has made the motion. Is there support? Thank you, Mr. Height, for seconding that motion. Let's see. We're going to add under 13, it will be 13A.
13A, yes, sir.
Setting the tax rate. And under consent agenda was the
bead letters of support for Zytel, the three that presented earlier, Zytel, Brightspeed, and Verizon.
Zytel, Brightspeed, and Verizon. That's
Yes, sir.
the motion. Any discussion on the floor? If not, gentlemen, cast your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. The motion passes 7-0. All right. To my colleagues, we move now to 7A, and that is the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, point of order. We will need to approve the agenda.
Thank you so much.
As amended.
All right, gentlemen, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and met with second. Mr. Ingram, Mr. Dudley, respectively. Is there discussion? Gentlemen, cast your votes. Thank you, Mr. Evans. Motion passes 7-0. Now we're at the consent agenda. I'll entertain that motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd entertain the motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dalton.
Second.
I heard a second.
Murray Whittle.
Mr. Whittle, thank you so much for the second, that we approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? If not, gentlemen, cast your votes. Thank you so much. The motion passes 7-0. That takes us down to item number 8A, which is presentations. Ms. McCluster.
Yes, sir. We have 2 this evening, if you all want to come on down.
All right. Would you all join us down front, gentlemen?
Ms. Fitzgerald, you come up here if you would, please. Good evening. I have the honor of presenting a certificate of recognition to a young lady in my district that turned 100 years old. Us in the Tunstall district, we live to be at least 100. But Mr. Fitzgerald is going to stand in for Ms. Wilson, and I shall read this to you. It says, the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors expresses its sincere congratulations to Miss Annie Wilson as she celebrates her 100th birthday. Born on February 17, 1925, Ms. Wilson has dedicated a century to faith, family, and service, leaving an extraordinary legacy that continues to inspire those who know and love her. Through her wisdom, kindness, and unwavering spirit, she has enriched the lives of countless individuals and remains a pillar of strength in our community. As her family and friends gather to celebrate this remarkable milestone, we join in honoring her incredible journey, her contributions to Pittsylvania County, and the many cherished memories she has created over the past 100 years. It is with great pleasure to send you best wishes and warmest congratulations on this amazing milestone, and we hope that your day is filled with everlasting joy and pleasure. Happy 100th birthday, Miss Annie Wilson, given this day by William V. Ingram, Tunstall District Supervisor, and Robert M. Tucker, Chairman of the Board of Supervisors. And she's watching, by the way. So here you go, Mr. Willie.
All right.
I would just like to say, on behalf of her, it's an honor and a pleasure for me to receive this. And her family would be here this evening, but her daughter and son-in-law is coaching one of the youth programs in the county, and they have a ball game this afternoon, so they could not bring her. But on Saturday afternoon, her family is having a great birthday celebration for her, and they had called and asked me, would I receive this evening for her and bring it to her Saturday afternoon as she celebrates her 100-year birthday. And I'd like to say her family has been a pillar in that community for years and years and years, and they continue to be a big pillar for that community. On behalf of Ms. Anna Wilson, I accept this and thank the board for recognizing her.
Yeah, you can sit down now, Willie. You did a good job representing brother. He thought he was getting ready to get another honor to come back up here. This next presentation we're going to do, I'm going to ask the members from the Hurt Volunteer Fire Department if they would. All of you guys connected with the fire department, I want you to come down here, and we're going to pretty much embarrass. One of the guys was in my house today doing PMs on my heating and air units. Is this one on? This is on. This is fine. I don't have to hold it. Ladies and gentlemen, so often we call our firefighters on the locality our heroes, and sometimes we'll say it, but my friend, this evening we're honoring some guys that actually saved 2 children's lives that fell into a frozen pond. And got a resolution to read. But I was reading in the scriptures today, and I come across this. And Dave had discussed with me about doing this resolution. In John 15:13, greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for a friend. and that's in God's Word. And let me tell you, these guys were heading out to rescue somebody, not really could call them their friend, somebody that they didn't even know. And it takes a true heroic heart of a hero of ours to do that. Can I get an amen? I'm going to read the resolution. It's got a lot of whereases and now and theretos. Which was it? All you guys that went out and that actually did the rescue? I want to know who you're. I'm going to embarrass you now.
Yes, sir. This is only the guys in the first group.
Okay.
Well, we're missing one guy, Jeff Lowe.
Okay. Yeah, I know Jeff. Yep. True heroes actually went out and saved 2 young teenagers' lives. This whereas and all of this resolution will tell the story, basically. Pennsylvania County Board of Supervisors Resolution 2025-02-03, honoring county first responders for their heroic actions in the rescue of 2 teenagers from a frozen pond. Virginia, at the Pennsylvania County Board of Supervisors Board, February 18, 2025, business meeting, the following resolution was presented and adopted. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, and emergency medical services. And when emergency occurs, the prompt response for our first responders is critical to the protection of life and preservation of the property. And whereas on January 19th, as part of the story, 2025, 2 teenage cousins found themselves in a life-threatening situation when they fell through the ice of a frozen pond in their backyard in Hurt, Virginia. And whereas despite warnings about the dangers of walking on the frozen pond, the teenagers ventured onto the ice, and within minutes, one fell into the freezing water, prompting the other to attempt to rescue, which led to both boys being submerged in the icy depths. And whereas one teen displayed remarkable quick thinking and bravery by using his waterlogged phone to call 911, an action that was critical, ensuring the prompt arrival of emergency responders. And whereas the Pennsylvania County emergency dispatchers acted swiftly and efficiently in coordinating the rescue response, ensuring that the first responders arrived at the scene within 10 minutes of this distress call. And whereas the dedicated first responders, including members of the fire and rescue teams, arrived at the 300 block of Lonesome Road and demonstrated exceptional courage, skills, and professionalism in executing the successful rescue of both teenagers from the freezing water. I just got a couple more lines, so just let's have a little. And whereas their rapid response and life-saving efforts prevented what could have been tragic loss of life and ensured that both teenagers received the immediate medical attention that they needed. And whereas the community of Pennsylvania County deeply appreciates the heroism, dedication, and selfless service of all first responders who risk their own safety to protect and serve others in times of crisis. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors, Pennsylvania County, hereby recognize and honor the first responders, including fire and rescue personnel, E911 operators, public safety staff, local law enforcement staff, and volunteers for their courageous and life-saving actions on January 19, 2025, and encourages the citizens of the county to join in expressing our heartfelt thanks to these brave men and women for their exemplary service and sacrifice. Given under my hand the 18th day of February, Timothy W. Dudley, Stanton River District Board of Supervisors, Robert M. Tucker, Chairman, Board of Supervisors, Kaylin M. McCluster, Clerk, Pennsylvania County Board of Supervisors. Let's give these gentlemen a hand.
some official pictures with it. But thank you, guys. Is it anything that you guys may want to add or say?
I don't do
You're the
public
chief,
speaking.
correct?
I don't do public speaking unless Ian wants to say something.
Thank you. I think we got a structure fire now, if I can.
Oh, have you?
I think so.
Well, don't let me hold you up for that.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Let's give them another hand this evening. Thank you so much. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man. Yep.
I tell you, that's pretty astonishing. Those young men, they can't even stay because they have a structural fire to get to.
Yep.
And that's why you will never hear me apologize for financing, fire and rescue, that sort of thing. I just want to apologize for that. But we certainly thank them and all of our volunteers and all of fire and rescue. That gets us down to 9, which is hearing of the citizens. Each person addressing the board under the hearing of the citizens shall be the resident landowner of the county or the registered agent of such landowner of the county. Resident or landowner. Each person shall step up, give his or her name and district in an audible tone of voice for the record. And unless further time is granted by the chairman, shall be limited to 3 minutes. No person shall be permitted to address the board more than once during the hearing of the citizens. All remarks shall be addressed to the board as a body and not to any individual member thereof. Hearing of the citizens shall last for a maximum 45 minutes. Any individual that is signed up to speak during said section does not get the opportunity to do so because of the aforementioned time limit shall be given speaking priority at the next board meeting. Absent chairman's approval, no person shall be able to speak who has not signed up. Let me also say, I think Ms. McCluster, how many do we have signed up to speak?
We have 18.
18. So if you do the math, we're over, but I'm going to give everyone an opportunity to speak. Is that fair enough? And because thank you for coming out and engaging in the process. Ms. McCluster, who's our first speaker?
All right, Chuck Angier.
Mr. Angier, welcome, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, county staff, thank you for your service,
Okay.
and thank you for this opportunity. My name is Chuck Angier, and I'm from the Callens-Gretna District. I don't know what word to use, but I've chosen disappointed. I'm disappointed that we have allowed ourselves to be smitten by a lone rogue out of Northern Virginia, promising us the world, spending billions of dollars to do it with nothing to back it up. I want to share with you the enormity of the project that Balico represents. 3.5 gigawatts. That is over 6 times more than Smith Mountain Dam will put out, full blast, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's twice as much as the biggest nuclear plant in the state will put out. That's North Anna. Twice as much. Believe it or not, the second biggest hydroelectric plant in the country is in Bath County, Lake Moomaw. And it's going to give us, the Balico project is 17% larger than that project. And to top it all off, the biggest gas electric facility in the country is in Florida, and it's 3.75 gigawatts, just a little bit bigger than what's proposed by Balico. You need to know that there is a bill alive in Richmond now, don't know whether it's going to make it through this year or not, that's Senate Bill 1449, that will force these kinds of projects to go to do all the assessments and impact studies before the special use permit is granted. That's different than it is now. I don't know how it's going to play out with this, but we need to keep that in mind. We also need to wonder, with the Virginia Clean Economy Act that wants us to go all green and electric, how in the world can they reconcile a project like this with the fact that we have to generate so much of our electricity from solar and wind? And on top of that, I had the honor of speaking with Senator Dave Marston, who is a Democrat from Fairfax County. He's chairman of the Senate Agriculture, Commerce, and Natural Resources Committee. He's the one that convened the Commission on Electric Utility Regulation that came up with all these laws that are going to usurp you fellas of your authority. I spoke to him about the Balico project, and remember, he's probably the top dog in Richmond, and explained to him that this was going to be a 3 gig facility generating its power from natural gas. And he said, you know, and I didn't record it, I didn't write it down, but in so many words he said, this will not happen under a Democratic General Assembly. The state is going to have a lot to say about this. When we compare this with Mecklenburg, remember that Mecklenburg Data Center, I believe, is on an industrial park without a lot of neighbors to disturb. And fellas, all I can say is I urge you to send this man packing back to Northern Virginia, just like they did in Charles City. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Angier. Ms. McCluster, who's our next speaker?
Ken Moss.
Ken, what's the last name?
Moss.
Moss, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Moss, and welcome.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for the chance to opportunity to speak. I do appreciate your service. I am here speaking in opposition to the Balico project. Chuck Angier just spoke to you with some of the technical aspects of this project. The 3.5 gigawatt or 3,500 megawatts that he's talking about, which is a massive amount of electricity, in conjunction to the electricity being generated, the data center would consume this electricity. So we've got two parts here going on. We've got the production of the electricity, but also consumption of that electricity in one location. That is unprecedented, and it's a massive amount of energy being displaced into the community down there. Being displaced into the community down there, and we don't have anything to compare this to. We don't. So the 3,500 megawatts of electricity being generated is bad enough, but the consumption of this electricity in one location, which is equivalent to roughly 35 million 100-watt light bulbs burning continuously. So I'm asking you, for the sake of the county, for the sake of the people, to vote no on this Balico project. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moss. Madam
Paul
Clerk.
Johnson, sorry about that. Paul Johnson.
Paul Johnson. Good evening, Mr. Johnson.
Good, how are y'all?
Good, sir.
My name's Paul Johnson. I'm from the Stanton River District, Town of Hurt. I'm for this. I'm for this for many reasons. Y'all just gave an award to firefighters from the Town of Hurt. Balico has agreed, it was their idea, that they will put $3 surcharge on the 2 million gallons worth of water that they'll buy every day from the town of Hurt. $1 of that goes to every single EMS and firefighting housed in Pittsylvania County. That comes up to about $21,000 a year that will go to give these guys fire trucks, to give them swift water rescue vehicles, everything that they need to save our lives and our neighbors' lives. That's nothing to just sneeze at. They also are not asking for a tax break. This power plant will give $30+ million worth of tax revenue to our county. That's nothing to sneeze at. We are not going to get tobacco back. We're not going to get textiles back. We're not going to get furniture back. If you have a cell phone, you have a data plan. If you have a computer, you save your information. I see iPads galore up here. Where does that data get saved? To the cloud. Where's the cloud? These data centers. Mecklenburg County, I rode down there. I did my own homework. I rode down there. I listened to that data center. I listened to that power plant. I rode down over in Chalk Level and saw where the proposed site's going. I did my homework and went. I ask everybody here to do their homework and go and not just listen to what I say or those that deny it say. But one thing's for sure, if Pittsylvania County continues to say no to businesses that want to come here, then businesses is going to tell Pittsylvania County no, and the taxpayers can't keep that burden. Town of Hurt Fire Department is trying to pay for an $800,000 fire truck, having car shows and hot dog cookouts, bluegrass music, Mr. Dudley knows it, bluegrass and barbecue, to try to pay for a fire truck. Because the Board of Supervisors doesn't have $800,000 given from that truck.
30 seconds remaining.
So that I am for this, because these data plants are gonna come. Whether they come here, come somewhere else, they're gonna come. President Trump's done earmarked $50 billion for them. Governor Glenn Youngkin says he wants them here. Whether they come to Pittsylvania County and we profit from it and give people a tax break, or we can watch it just disappear and go somewhere else and say,
3 minutes
what
is
could have been.
complete.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Johnson.
Cole Poindexter.
Mr. Poindexter. Good evening and welcome, sir.
My name is Cole Poindexter, and I'm here this evening representing the Stanton River Watch, a 501c3 watchdog group for the Stanton River. Virginia now has 25% of the world's data centers. Data center growth in Virginia is expected to double the state's power demand by 2033 and triple by 2040. Most of the reads I see speak to the uncontrollable growth of data centers and ever-increasing needs for methods of cooling the compute. This almost always means consuming insurmountable amounts of water. The Balico project proposed as now will consume 2 million gallons a day. This has been enough to supply 6,667 households. There are those of us here this evening have been involved with the Stanton River for a long time. My family and I have been riparian landowners since 1801. There are those of us who worked for the creation of the first scenic river designation in the 1970s. This is a 10.8-mile section from Long Island to Brookneal. This designation is now in its third generation. There are those of us who sat on the relicensing committee for the Smith Mountain Lake project from 2002 until 2010. The State Water Control Board's largest public hearing on record regarding the Stanton River was at the Stanton River in Brookneal, Naruna, and Gretna. These hearings were with the public interest in preserving our resource. The attendance was so large, the hearings had to be moved from the school auditoriums to the football stadiums. Our greatest accomplishment to date was a historic agreement between downstream users and American Electric and Power Company on January 28, 1988, to change the flow regime out of Leesville Dam. This created a levelized flow, thereby stopping the severe bank erosion all the way to Clarksville. Needless to say, we have worked tirelessly to be good stewards and will continue to scrutinize all aspects of the downstream users. Of all the numerous water needs along the Stanton, there should be economic opportunities for less consumptive users than data centers. We should consider quality drinking water, water plants here and downstream, and fisheries, to say nothing of the recreation
30
of the
seconds
natural
remaining.
source itself. We must act responsibly now and for future generations in the allocation of our precious resource, the Stanton River. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Poindexter.
Jeff Love.
I'm sorry, what's your name again, sir?
Jeff Love, Stanton River District.
Yes, sir. Good evening, and thank you for being
Thank you.
here.
Irfan K. Ali, Balico CEO, is the only person that would benefit from the proposed data center. He is looking for cheap land and naive county leadership. He is not an employer and cannot guarantee local jobs or county revenue. The water that Balico wants to steal from the Stanton River doesn't belong to the town of Hurt, and Mayor Gary Hodnett doesn't have the right to provide it. Balico will steal millions of gallons of water per day from the Stanton River, even when we're in an extreme drought condition like we had this past summer. You can't blindly pull millions of gallons of water from the river without negatively impacting the connected rivers, lakes, and our environment. Balico's huge water draw from the Stanton River will negatively impact water levels, both upstream and downstream. Upstream includes Stanton River, Leesville Lake, Smith Mountain Lake, and Roanoke River. Downstream includes Stanton River, Roanoke River, Kerr Lake, Lake Gaston, and Roanoke Rapids Lake. The Roanoke River's floodplain contains the largest intact and least disturbed bottomland hardwood forest ecosystem remaining in the mid-Atlantic region. The middle section of the Roanoke River is characterized by alluvial forest and large back swamps, while the lower section contains vast tracts of bald cypress and water tupelo swamp forest. The Roanoke River provides a haven for a host of plants and animals, including more than 200 bird species. Once the water pipelines proposed going along Route 29 leak, we'll have huge sinkholes in Route 29, potentially causing serious injuries and deaths. Based on Mr. Ali's past comments, it's apparent that he knows very little about data centers. Data centers are rack-mounted computer facilities that require minimal human interaction, meaning very few jobs. I use a data center that's located in California. As such, I know that data centers function predominantly through remote access. It's also important to realize that data center users do not need to pay taxes. You can refer to tax.virginia.gov/communications-taxes for that information. Per Mr. Ali's
30
LinkedIn
seconds
page,
remaining.
his only successful project was in his native Pakistan. Mr. Ali has been evasive about his funding source for this project, and one can only guess where that funding is coming from. I trust that the board will take the Planning Commission's recommendation to deny this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Ms. McCluster, who's our next speaker?
Daryl Campbell.
Mr. Campbell? Good evening and welcome.
Daryl Campbell, Chatham Blair's district is where I reside, and I pastor in the Bannister district. Mill Creek Community Church, I've been there 13 years. The church has been there since 1883. And so therefore this project, like the microphone is our church, it literally would engulf our church. Some of you have been to our church and have been to one of our meetings back in October, and you're very aware of this. But it impacts us in many ways. The noise would be very difficult to tolerate on a regular basis. We have 2 rental properties. I dare say those folk are going to want to stay there, and that's a loss of good income for us. I do a lot of funerals at our cemetery across the road. Sometimes it's hard to hear with the traffic the way it is now. So we'd almost have to say the service will be at the church and forget about going to the cemetery. We also have neighbors all around our church who attend our church, but many are here tonight and they go to other churches. And once again, it's impacting them in a great way. I am not scientific as some of these other great speakers have been. I sort of focus on the practical and the pastoral. But I agree, where is all this water going to come from? And we've been blessed the last few days with some rain, but how do we know that's going to continue? And I think it's going to be a great drain on that water, as well as the electricity and again the noise. And the traffic has not been really studied properly, and I think that's going to be a big problem. And here's my point, is just wrong location. Understand all about data centers, understand all about budgets and economy. I understand that. We're not against that. It's just wrong place. So we urge you, as this comes up next month, hopefully, to vote on that you will reject it no matter what size, because it continues to be downsized, I think, to make it more palatable. But I know you men are very wise, and I hope you can see through that. And so I ask you, please, to reject it irregardless of what size. And I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Madam Clerk, who's our next speaker?
Jeffrey Blasing.
Mr. Blakely. Good evening and welcome, sir.
My name is Jeffrey Blasing. I live in the Stanton River District. I actually live on the Stanton River. Whether we like it or not, we live in a world of progress with an attitude of grow or die. 280 years ago, a gentleman named Benjamin Clement came to this area and chose to our side of the river and received a land grant for I don't know how many acres. I picked up the wrong notebook. He received a land grant from the King of England. In 1775, in progress, Mr. Benjamin Clement started to be able to produce 50 pounds of gunpowder a day at his plantation. He went to the Continental Congress, and that gave them the confidence that they could, in fact, fight a revolution. Nearly 100 years ago, John L. Hurt Jr. started to develop what would become the village of Hurt. The building that I live in was the first industrial building in town, the Hurt Flour Mills. He wanted something that compared to what the Lane Company was doing, and he started with a small, at the time, a very large electric, not water-powered mill, Progress. Followed several years later by Klopman Mills. I've lived in the area for almost 40 years. The progress that I have seen has been negative growth with the loss of factories. To me, this is a significant opportunity for growth. Our country has just voted for less government spending, and here we have a company who's looking to invest just in our infrastructure, from my understanding, approximately $30 million. He's going to use a small portion of the water that can travel through that line, allowing further expansion for Pittsylvania County. Mr. Johnson just talked about he's going to be giving money to the fire departments. I don't see how we can not follow through. It's either grow or die. And the talk about all of the water and how much water is going to come out. If you look at the flow charts, the average flow chart of the Stanton River is 320
30 seconds remaining.
Gallons a day, and he wants to use 2 million. It is Burlington Industries had the permit for 17.7 million gallons, and nobody complained when they used it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blakely.
3 minutes is complete.
Ms. McCluster, who's our next speaker?
Gary Hodnett.
Mr. Hodney. Good evening and welcome, sir.
Mr. Chairman and Board, it's a pleasure to be here to talk to you tonight and set some of the facts out on the table. As elected officials, it's incumbent upon us all to provide opportunities for those we represent. You cannot get drawn into basing your decisions on special interest, especially if a handful of people are those who yell the loudest over the greater good of the county and the majority of the residents. It is up to you to weigh the facts against opinions that are not always based on fact. In the case of Balico, it's irrefutable whether they are fact-based, and the greater of the good will be satisfied. Have you ever wondered how many people live up and down the 29 corridor? It's roughly 5,549 homes. All of these homes will be provided water if they want it. There will be fire hydrants along the way. So what this means is these people will have good, clean, inexpensive municipal water. Fire departments will have fire hydrants along the way. These people in 5,549 homes will also see lower insurance rates. So how in the world can you deny this kind of benefit to these people? This has been a problem. I've heard and heard and heard ever since I've been elected in the town of Hurt that the 29 corridor has to be opened up. People prior to you guys sitting on the board never did anything about this. It's time that we do something about it. Balico and Hurt want to do this. We want to move forward with this project. And how could anyone deny the 1,395 residents in the town of Hurt the opportunity to have affordable water? After years of suffering some of the highest water rates in the state, currently $17.60 per thousand. I haven't heard any one of you guys sitting on the board call and say, hey, is there anything we can do to help these people with their water rates? What can we do? We're here to help. Haven't heard it. Why would anyone among us need to deny people that need help paying their water bills with this benefit that Balico is offering us?
30 seconds remaining.
$3 per thousand on water. It's going to help people pay their bills. It's going to help the fire departments be more efficient, better equipment. We can't deny that. And I keep hearing how tough a decision this is. I totally disagree when you consider the overall good for the majority of our residents this project brings us versus the handful concerned about noise
3 minutes is complete.
that does not exist, ugly buildings they will not see, and clean generators that do not pollute. I do not see how you can vote against this project, and I urge you to vote for it for the future of our county, because people are watching not only in the state, but across the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, who's our next speaker?
Katie Whitehead.
Good evening, Ms. Whitehead, and welcome.
I'm Katie Whitehead, Chatham Blair's district. And how you deny the project is to comply with the comprehensive plan. The public hearing on March 18th will be a pivotal moment. Under the county's zoning requirements, if the board approves Balico's request for M2 heavy industry zoning, the board will give up all future control over the behemoth gas plant and data center complex. Balico has pressured the county for over a year to speed up the rezoning process. Rather than Balico needing to refine the project, I believe a more plausible reason for delaying a month is that Balico does not think it has your support to rezone now. Balico's website asserts, and I quote, strategically located near Pittsylvania County of southwestern Virginia, Balico Technology Campus is set to deliver its first phase 300 megawatts of advanced data center capacity by the fourth quarter of 2025. And it goes on to promise secure water resources and to come an unprecedented 3,500 megawatts of capacity. The imperatives of Pittsylvania County's comprehensive plan direct the county not to allow development that degrades our land, water, air, and rural quality of life. The hearing on March 18th is a critical opportunity for you, our locally elected representatives, to weigh the potentially enormous impact of this project on our water resources and air quality. Balico has offered
30 seconds remaining.
very dubious water usage estimates and highly speculative plans for getting the public water to the site, has suggested there is virtually no pollutants, just vapor. The comprehensive plan strongly supports your
3 minutes is
denial
complete.
of Balico's rezoning requests. You have other opportunities and will have more. Let this one go.
Thank you, Ms. Whitehead. Madam Clerk, who's our next speaker?
Bob Major.
Bob Major. Good evening and welcome, sir.
Good evening. My name is Bob Major. I'm the Stanton River District. I'm the Vice Mayor of our town of Hurt. You have a big project in front of you all. It's a big decision to be made that will affect the lives of us in the future. I have a daughter that's 2 years old, expecting another one here soon, and I want to see my kids live in a county that has the tax money to actually build schools that will support our youth. Recently, there was a sales tax initiative that we had to pass just to get enough money to get our schools to have AC, get them out of trailers, and actually have quality education centers. If we are able to increase the tax revenue of our county through a project like this, such that the citizens do not have to continue to pay higher property taxes, higher sales taxes, and there is a private company that is willing to invest in our county so that our citizens do not have to continue to do this, we should be looking to do that, in my opinion. We need businesses. You know, if there's any question about what a data center is like, how to regulate it properly, there's lots of examples that you can go and see. Mecklenburg, Northern Virginia, there's other countries you can look at. So if you need to make sure that this will minimize the impact on the citizens around it, look to those places that have had data centers before us and find out the best ways to minimize those impacts. But we can really do some amazing things with that tax revenue. Not only with that tax revenue would help us, we also have that water line that's going to go down 29. We heard how it's going to provide water to emergency service vehicles, which currently have to go to a locality to fill up and then go to a place that has to fight that fire. So we're seeing benefits from a water line. We're seeing financial support through those, to those EMS and those fire departments. We're, and we also are going to see low-income folks helped. There's going to be a portion of the money that is spent through that 2 million gallons a day that will be set aside to help folks that are low income and need help with paying their water bills. These are fantastic things that we can help our citizens of the county. We also can help the people of the town of Hurt. We've heard today that we pay some of the highest rates for water because we are beholden to the town of Alta Vista to purchase our water. This plan will allow us to actually have control of our future in water rights, and it's
30
not
seconds
going to be
remaining.
at the highest level that we saw in the past. You heard before, Klopman Mills, Burlington Mills, those places use 14 million gallons of water a day. We're talking about 2 million gallons a day. I do agree the environment is an extremely important thing to respect. This is something that is actually a much lower environmental impact than some industries that we could be seeing. So I strongly encourage you, if you have reservations, please go visit those data
3
centers,
minutes
those
is
power
complete.
plants, and find out those regulations that will help minimize the impact to the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Major. Madam McCluster, who's our next speaker?
Tim Reynolds.
Mr. Reynolds.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm
Good
Tim
evening.
Reynolds. I live in the Stanton River District. I am here tonight on behalf of Balico. I wanted to provide just a little bit of context on the postponement of the public hearing. As we went through the process, our team decided it'd be in the best interest of the process to delay the hearing so that we could refine our proposal based on feedback from county staff and citizens. We feel like the additional time would allow Balico and the team to submit additional information to the county and give staff ample time to review that information before the public hearing. We didn't feel like that was going to happen if we had met tonight. In this time, our team is going to continue to reach out to the community and the county staff, answering their questions and concerns about the project. We want to convey to the people of the community and Pennsylvania County leaders that we believe this is a great opportunity. We believe that the more the community knows about this, the better they will understand it, and the more they can get comfortable with it. We'll be launching Facebook and a website, a new website, in the coming days, and we'll be putting information on that on a regular basis so that everybody can see what this proposal is and how the direction is going. I brought a map with me tonight. I gave it to Kaylin. I think she's given it to each one of you. I also passed out my extra copies into the audience so that they could pass it around and see what was on the map so they would know what I was giving you. This is just an overview of the project. It's changed greatly since it first came to light in the public in the first submittal. It's been downsized. We made many concessions to try and address concerns of the community. And we'll go into those in the public hearing, but you can kind of get a sense of the scale, where it is in the community, how it relates to the Transco pumping station in 29. I think that's important. Some of the maps that we provided in the past were not easy to read, and I acknowledge that. So we're working to get better information out there. The team has listened to the county staff and citizens, and we've made a lot of revisions to the project, and I think we've done a really good job at limiting impacts to the community. I appreciate your time. If you guys have any questions for me now or after the
30
meeting,
seconds remaining.
I'll be glad to take those. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds.
Thank you.
Ms. McCluster, who's the next speaker?
Lexi Shellhorse.
Shelvo. Good evening. Thank you for being here.
I am Lexi Shellhorse of the Callens-Gretna District. I want to bring up a couple of important topics tonight regarding the proposed Balico project. I want to talk about two very different conversations that are taking place. One rhetoric is being presented to the public, yet a large collection of FOIA documents show a very different conversation. And boy, I wish I had more time tonight. They have presented to the public all the wonderful things that their anticipated revenue can do. However, I have a copy of an email that was sent to Matt Rowe on July 18th of 2024, And attached to this email was a drafted letter from Balico asking the board to consider lowering the tax rate on data center equipment. They stated that they would be mailing hard copies to each of you. They gave examples of what they call neighboring counties that set a tax rate of 24 cents for data centers. Balico hasn't even been through the rezoning process, and it's already campaigning for lower taxes. When our local small business owners and other companies in Pittsylvania County, they pay $9 per 100 of assessed value. And so this doesn't sound fair, and it would certainly make the anticipated revenue look very different. I took the liberty of calling one of the counties they listed, and I had a conversation with the commissioner. I found out the reason that they offered this incentive is that they have a lot of reclaimed coal mining areas that are already zoned industrial, and they can't be used for other purposes because of their locations. The development is very limited in those areas because of the lack of major highways and their mountainous terrain. There is no question that this development project will bring major air and noise pollution to our area and drain our water resources. I have read numerous studies about particulate matter and NOx pollution from gas-fired power plants. I remember a story years ago that Billy Graham told once about a conversation that he had with a gentleman at an airport in regards to his salvation. He asked the man, would you get on a plane if you knew it had a 75% chance of crashing? To which the man replied, no. He said, how about 50%? And the man said, of course not. Okay, then 30? Still the man said no, and Mr. Graham replied, what degree of risk are you willing to take with this important decision? Using this analogy tonight, I asked the board, what degree of risk are you willing to take with the health of our residents and their quality of life? And as you contemplate your decision over the next few weeks, please care about these communities enough to protect them and vote no.
3 minutes is complete.
And please remember that there are many things that money will not fix.
Thank you, Ms. Shahas. Ms. McCluster, who's our next speaker?
Steve Worley.
Mr. Worley. Thank you for being here and good evening.
My name is Steve Worley. I live in the Stanton River District. I serve on town council for the town of Hurt, and Mr. Dudley is my supervisor. We've heard opposition from some of the citizens about the pollution, and I've been to the power plants and I've been to the data center. I'm not going on hearsay, I'm going on my own experience and some of my research that I've done. These power plants are going to be powered by natural gas, and that's as clean as we got. That's as clean as it's going to get. And then the other pollution thing is about the water. The water will be coming from the town of Hurt. Balico will not touch a stream or any sort of water in the Bannister district. There won't be any pollution from that. Next thing I heard was the noise, and we just heard from the pastor about his church that they won't be been told that they won't be able to hear because of the noise. I went to the power plants. The noise is not an issue. Those turbines are exposed. The turbines for this new plant will be enclosed, so the sound is even less. I was standing on the side of 58, and the road traffic from 58 was much louder than the noise from the power plant. We took sound decimal checks while we were there. The sound that sometimes in this building tonight was louder than what we recorded at the power plants. So the noise is just a fabrication. The pastor at Mill Creek Church, you will be able to hear fine. Hear fine. You won't hear the noise from this plant. The only thing that you're going to hear, you're a mile and a tenth from the power plant. The only thing that you're going to hear is the birds singing and the wind blowing. That's it. So, the farmland.
Let's have order. Go ahead, sir.
Excuse me. Then we hear about the farmland. We're going to lose farmland. 77% of Pittsylvania County's land is farmland. So that's 480,468 acres. That's a lot of land. Balico is asking for 750 acres. That's less than 1% of the farmland. Benefits that's going to help my town of Hurt. We've got about 1,400 people. We pay the highest water bill in the nation. My water bill is over $1,750 a thousand.
30 seconds remaining.
I have to pay it just like everybody else. This water plant will come to us at a cost of $1. $1. If you can come up with a cheaper plan than that, I'm all ears. But I'm looking out for the citizens of the county. 30 seconds, I got to hurry up. Pittsylvania County, the revenue from this was unreal. There's no way that you can get this kind of revenue off of 750 acres of farmland. It's not there. And it's time we wake up and
3
listen
minutes
to
is
that.
complete.
Oh, boy. Can I have just another minute?
Not 60 seconds.
Okay.
Start wrapping up, sir.
Thank you.
We're going to have order. Thank you, Mr. Worley. Who's our next speaker?
Alice Bond.
Ms. Bond. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I went on the same fact-finding mission that Steve Worley went on, only to hear and see what was going to be coming to us. We went to 2 power plants. The first one, we could hear a hum. And we looked around, and there was no mitigation for sound whatsoever. There were trees around, but they were very tall trees. There were no leaves on them. And the humming was very minimal. And we went to the next power plant. Same thing in the environment. There was no sound. There was no sound. And then we went to the data center. We got very close to all 3 facilities. And at the data center, there was no sound. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ms. McCluster, who's our next speaker?
Amy Walker.
Ms. Walker?
I'm Amy Walker of the Gretna-Callis District. You know, we are hearing a lot tonight about Balico's 750-acre project. But you know, you go to November 7th, the VirginiaBusiness.com site had an article about Balico. And at that point, Mr. Alley was quoted saying, "This is the first phase, and ultimately we will continue." You know, their first project was 2,233 acres and 84 data centers. And I thought, I want to find out a means of comparison. What compares to this? So I started looking around, and of course, Northern Virginia is a perfect place. And I found Loudoun County. And Loudoun County has the title of data center capital of the world. And if you go on their economic development page, you will see a bullet point that says we have 30 million square feet of data centers. Well, if you go back to Balico's original proposal, they had 84 data centers that totaled over 33 million square feet. So I thought I would like everybody to understand, what does 33 million square feet look like? And so I did the math. And so I took 84 data centers, which is what they originally proposed. Each would be 900 feet. If you take 84 data centers that are 900 feet and you place them end to end, you will create a complex that is 14.3 miles long. So I went on Google Maps because I thought, I want to understand what is that distance so everybody has a visual. And so I put on Google Maps, I put a point on the Pittsylvania County Courthouse up the street, and I took that line and I started going southward. I hit 14.3 miles. This is as the crow flies. I hit 14.3 miles right after I passed the Starbucks location at 1011 Piney Forest Road in Danville. So we're looking at proposing 14.3 miles of data centers. No, oh, by the way, let me say about that path that goes from the courthouse to past Starbucks. It would be 220 foot wide and 40 foot tall. And we're talking about putting that meandering and weaving through the communities of Chalk Level, Littles, Shiva, and Mill Creek. Man, can you imagine the amount of land that will have to be graded and shaved down to accommodate it? Can you imagine the people who live next door or near it who will have to look at these monstrosities and listen and deal with the lights? And then I thought about one of the most beautiful views in Pennsylvania County is when you take 29 North and you hit
30
that
seconds
crest
remaining.
of White Oak Mountain, and you look out, and here is Smith Mountain, and over here is Peaks of Otter, and what you will see is concrete buildings and 887-foot power stacks. So I share that with you. And the next time you pass that Starbucks at 1011 Piney Creek, I want you to remember what I said, what I shared. That's the magnitude of the size of this project, because as he said,
3 minutes is complete.
To build it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Ms. McCluster, who's our next speaker?
Amanda Sink Widener.
Ms. Widener. Good evening. Thank you for being here.
Amanda Sink Widener, the Gretna Callens District, and tonight I speak on behalf of Friends of Littles and concerned citizens, Chalk Level. Gentlemen of the board and Mr. Chairman, no Balico hearing? No problem. We'll see you in a month. But we wanted to be on public record tonight to share some information with citizens at large, because Balico hosted an invitation-only exclusive luncheon on February 10. No press included, with 3 core messages. 1, money is no object. Well, we never said it wasn't an object. We said it was the only object. 2, they have just as much support as we have. Well, no. When you have just as much support as we have, you don't have to have backdoor meetings with no press included, so no fact-checking can take place. And 3, they're finally going to do some due diligence on the country's second largest gas-fired power plant. It's about time since they've been here since December of 2023, Chairman. But I want to share some due diligence of my own accord. Oh, and by the way, make sure when they take you to see that plant, they don't load you up in a Range Rover, because they need to put you on a plane to Florida, to Westlake, where there is a 3250 capacity, 3750 gas-fired plant that's buried in a swamp in Palm Beach County. Check my source. The due diligence that I'm going to share with you tonight comes from a letter, July 2024. Paul Jenkins with the Department of Environmental Quality communicated with Irfan Ali. It appears a single turbine, hear that gentlemen, single turbine will have nitrous oxide emissions that would require a state major air permit. Multiple turbines will be needed for the project, and emissions would be over the PSD threshold for nitrous oxide. Other pollutants were not evaluated. In their conversation, it was stated that Ali hoped for a minor NSR permit, but it would not be possible. Now, I can tell you one thing. If my children attended Chatham Elementary, Chatham Hall, Hargrave Military Academy, if I lived in the town of Chatham, if I lived in any of these rural communities, I would be burning your phone lines up in the morning asking what due diligence this county is doing on behalf of the citizens, not the due diligence that we're listening to by paid engineers, paid attorneys, and construction tycoon families that will be financial benefactors if this proposal is approved in March. Now, one thing I'll tell all of you is that the word gambling comes to mind. 6 years ago, the Board of Supervisors, behind closed doors, and I checked my sources, they made a decision that they would not drive revenue by gambling with money because of perception, because of crime, and because of moral
30 seconds
uprightness.
remaining.
That board wouldn't make that decision. So, Mr. Chairman, I have a question for you tonight. Are we willing to drive revenue by gambling with people's lives, by gambling with human health, by gambling with our county seat, which is the county's town, by gambling with devastation of 4 rural communities full of people and heritage? I just want to know what we are willing to gamble for revenue.
3 minutes is
And
complete.
I want you to think about that question, sir, gentlemen, for the next 4 weeks until I see you on March 18th. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Widener. All right, Mr. McCluster, who's our next speaker?
Frank Fox.
Mr. Fox, good evening and welcome, sir.
Thank you, Amanda. It's always a pleasure to follow you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Frank Fox from Chatham Blair's District. I'm speaking tonight for Chatham First Incorporated, where I am the chairman of the board of directors. We recently passed a resolution which is on our website and our Facebook page, and that was read to Chatham Town Council last Monday night. Resolution regarding proposed data center campus and on-site power generation station in Pittsylvania County. Whereas Balico LLC, a company based in Herndon, Virginia, has proposed approximately a 747-acre data center campus and on-site power generation project in Pittsylvania County, Virginia, just outside the corporate limits of the town of Chatham. And whereas Balico has filed a rezoning petition with the Pittsylvania County Planning Commission requesting to rezone the land it requires for the project from residential and agricultural districts to industrial districts, specifically heavy industrial. And whereas the 2010 Pennsylvania County Comprehensive Plan, Chapter 8 on pages 15 and 21 specifically states that industrial development should be avoided on prime farmland and agriculturally significant areas so as not to create a significant impact on residential areas, prime agricultural lands, or public facilities. Whereas Chatham First Incorporated, following the Town Council of the Town of Chatham, strongly believes that neither the project proposed by Balico nor the proposed rezoning of the subject land would serve the best interest of the citizens and businesses of the Town of Chatham and Pittsylvania County, Virginia. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Chatham First strongly opposes both the project proposed by Balico and the rezoning of the land in Pittsylvania County, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Chairman of the Board of Supervisors and the Chairman of the Pittsylvania County Planning Commission immediately upon ratification of the Board of Directors. Ratified January 30th, Frank Fox, Chairman for the Board of Directors.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Ms. McCluster, who's next?
Jennifer East Cole.
Ms. Cole? Good evening, and thank you for being here.
I'm Jennifer East Cole with the Gretna Callens District. I live on Paynton Road. I am a geologist. I specialized in hydrology and mineral and oil exploration. I've also been a college teacher, so I'm no stranger to industry. At past meetings, I've addressed my concerns about the lack of good information on this project. Many unanswered questions. We get very little in writing. Instead, we get these computer-generated maps. I'm going to reiterate again this key question. What is the big picture hydrology of the Balico site? Yes, there's an ambitious plan to bring water 2 million gallons a day from the water treatment plant and pipe it from Hurt. However, once you get on site, all of a sudden it becomes very gray. How is the water initially treated to cool the data center? I don't know. No one will say. What is the percentage and composition of the residual water left over after cooling? Nobody will tell us. How is it treated at the water treatment plant, which is shown on the site map? Where is the water disposed? And in what fashion is it disposed? We're talking the residual of 2 million a day. Where does this water, what does it look like? What's in it? And how is it disposed? How is it going to affect streams, groundwater, adjacent reservoirs, and surface runoff? If you look at the site maps, Little Cherry Stone Creek is a year-round creek that runs diagonally through the project. And there are designated wetlands in close proximity to the data center buildings. How will the multiple utility corridors access roads, various buildings compromise the creeks and important wetlands and plant and wildlife ecology? We don't know.
30 seconds remaining.
These questions should have been answered from the get-go. Balico's answers are dismissive, saying they'll work with DEQ, and that's just fine. What is Balico hiding? Think long and hard about turning Balico loose on our county. If they ruin the groundwater, compromise and pollute wells, lakes, streams, compromise critical habitat,
3 minutes is complete.
who will pay for that? We are entrusting you with the long-term welfare of this county, Board of Supervisors. Please, don't let us down.
Thank you, Ms. Cole.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Madam Clerk, are there
That's all,
any
Mr.
others?
Chairman.
Are there any others that did not sign up to speak, maybe arrived late? Want to give grace and allow all of the public to speak, and we thank all of you all for being here this evening and participating in the process. I'm going to say to my colleagues, let's take recess and let's reassemble at 8:35. We will come to order. It is now 8:35. We will resume our meeting. We ask the audience to help us out with a little quiet. Thank you.
Getting tight on.
It's kind of like saying a benediction in church. Say the benediction and everybody's ready to get out, but they hang around. We will move to item number 10, which is our public hearings, rezoning public hearings. Pursuant to Article 5, Division 6 of the Pennsylvania County Zoning Ordinance, the Board of Supervisors have been empowered to hear and decide specific zoning issues and zoning map changes in support of said ordinance. In accomplishing this important task, the board is responsible for promoting the health, safety, and general public welfare of the citizens of Pennsylvania County. The board must ensure that all of its decisions and regulations be directed to these goals and that each be consistent with the environment, the comprehensive plan, and in the best interests of Pennsylvania County, its citizens, and its posterity. All right, in case R25-002, it is 8:37, and we open the public hearing. Ms. Ragsdale, please.
Case R-25-002, Nancy Weatherford has petitioned to rezone 8.394 acres located on State Road 869, Stony Mill Road in the Tunstall Election District from R1 Residential Suburban Subdivision District to A1 Agricultural District to allow the property to be consolidated with an adjacent parcel zoned A1. Once the property is rezoned to A1, all uses listed under Section 35-178 are permitted. On January 7, 2025, the Planning Commission recommended by a 7-0 vote with no opposition that the petitioner's request be granted. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, Rich Armstrong is here to represent the petition.
Thank you, Ms. Ragsdale. Mr. Armstrong. Thank you, sir. Anything you'd like to add, sir?
No, sir.
Nothing to add? All right. Thank you for being here. You might return to your seat. At 8:38, we close the public hearing. All right, Mr. Ingram, what's your pleasure?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In case R25-002, I make a motion to approve the rezoning of 8.394 acres from R1 Residential Suburban Subdivision District to A1 Agricultural District to allow the property to be consolidated with an adjacent parcel zoned A1.
Is there support? Thank you, Mr. Dalton, for seconding Mr. Ingram's motion. Any discussion? We're prepared to vote.
Mr. Chairman, just point of order.
Yes,
you need to make sure we check to make sure there's no other individuals here to speak on
against. There's no one signed up.
There's no one signed up. Thank you so much. All right, motion passed 7-0. Second case is R-25-003. We open the public hearing at 8:39. Ms. Ragsdale, please.
Case R-25-003, Janet Brooks has petitioned to rezone 30.36 acres located on State Road 801 Drawbridge Road in the Callens-Gretna Election District from M1 Industrial District Light Industry to A1 Agricultural District to allow for a single-family dwelling to be placed on the property. Once the property is rezoned to A1, all uses listed under Section 35-178 are permitted. On January 7, 2025, the Planning Commission recommended by a 7-0 vote with no opposition that the petitioner's request be granted. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, Janet Brooks is here to represent the petition.
Ms. Brooks, anything you'd like to add? You wouldn't like to add anything, Ms. Brooks? Is there anyone else here to speak on this petition?
No, sir.
Thank you so much. At, let's see, 8:40, we closed public hearing on this case. Mr. Dalton, your pleasure.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. In case R-25-003, I make a motion approving the rezoning of 30.36 acres from M1 Industrial District Light Industry to A1 Agriculture District to allow a single-family dwelling to be constructed on the property and to allow agricultural uses.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Dalton, for the motion, Mr. Dudley for the second. Is there any discussion? If not, would you please vote? Thank you so much. Motion so carries. Thank you. Mr. Brooks, you're in good shape. All right. In case R-25-004, we open the public hearing at 8:41. Ms. Ragsdale.
Case R-25-004, Eric and Ashley Brown have petitioned to rezone 13.15 acres located on State Road 839 W.I. Powell Road in the Chatham Blair's election district from R1 Residential Suburban Subdivision District to A1 Agricultural District to allow for an accessory structure to be placed in the front yard of the property. Once the property is rezoned to A1, all uses listed under Section 35-178 are permitted. On January 7, 2025, the Planning Commission recommended by a 7-0 vote with no opposition that the petitioner's request be granted. Staff summaries enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, Eric and Ashley Brown are here to represent the petition.
Thank you. Ms. Brown, anything to add to the petition? Nothing to add. Is there anyone else signed up to speak to this?
No, sir.
Thank you so much. At 8:42, we close the public hearing. All right, Mr. Bowman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In case R-25-004, I make a motion approving the rezoning of 13.15 acres from R1 Residential Suburban Subdivision District to A1 Agriculture District to allow an accessory structure to be placed on the property.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. Is there support for the motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Height. Moved and met with second. Any discussion on the motion? If not, you may cast your votes. Motion passes 7-0. Ms. Brown, you're in good shape. Your property's been rezoned. Thank you for being here. All right, that brings us down to item number 11, unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business, sir?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any new business?
No, Mr. Chairman.
No new business. Matters from the work session.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This will be 13A. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve resolution number 2025-02-05, adopting the tax rates as recommended by county staff. Mr. Chairman, that is my motion.
All right, is there support for the motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Dudley for the motion, Mr. Bowman for the second. Moved and met with second. Resolution is at 2025-005, setting the tax resolution or accepting the tax resolution.
Yes, sir, that was 2025-02-05. Yes, sir.
0205, just trying to get it right.
Yes, sir.
All right, motion second. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, you may cast your votes. That motion passes 7-0. Thank you so much. All right, tonight we're going to start on my left, and we're going to Have our board report. Mr. Ingram, please.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was a good meeting tonight. Thank you. Good turnout. On the 6th of February, the Cascade community lost one of the mayors, Mr. Billy Wilson, who was a tremendous supporter of that community, and he passed away, and we're going to miss him. But I did want to mention Billy. I want to give special thanks to all the utility linemen that climbed those poles and cut those trees to get our power back on when the ice took the limbs down. And a special thanks once again to our volunteers, our fire and rescue folks for all that they do. And on a sad note, evil is absolutely everywhere. We live in communities that we think we're relatively safe until the Danville police officer on a routine follow-up was shot 4 times in the city of Danville. And I knew her, and thank God she's okay and she came home today, believe it or not. But anyway, keep law enforcement in your thoughts and prayers, because I know what they go through, and they're surely worthy of all the prayers that they can get. And with that, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Ingram. Mr. Dudley.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank everyone for coming out. Appreciate everybody being here. I want to thank the board. You get here at 2 o'clock and you have a meeting with the school board. 3 o'clock you have finance, and 4 o'clock you have work session, and 7 o'clock. And it's a long day, some difficult decisions, but just want to thank the board for their service. Want to thank the firefighters again that do what they do. My son-in-law is a firefighter for Alta Vista, and every time those guys go out the door, their life could be gone, just like the police or anybody. So thank God for them, appreciate them. Thank you for the staff, the good work that they do. Our job looks so easy as compared to them prepping for this meeting. Just want to thank them, and everybody be safe tomorrow with the weather moving in. Just safe travels, and we'll see you next month. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Dudley. Let's see, Mr. Dalton.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to echo some of the same comments. Thank everyone for coming out. We had a good crowd tonight. Thank you for all your comments. I want to thank all our staff for everything they do. And I also want to say a huge thank you to all our fire, rescue, public safety, our linemen. I mean, I get to shout out, especially for Mecklenburg. They my power company. They've done a wonderful job. They had some rough days and nights. I want to thank them. Again, thank everybody for coming out. Have a safe trip home. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dalton. Mr. Bowman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just have a few comments this evening. Attended the VACO Government Day at the Virginia General Assembly in January along with Chairman Tucker. We met with our legislators, Senator Mulkey and Delegate Phillips, to discuss matters of importance in our county. Attended the grand opening of Tranquility Grove, which is down here on 29, a 16-bed subsistence use recovery home located in Blairs that houses men 18 years old and up. Beautiful 24-hour supervised home that offers a safe and structured environment for recovery. So thank you to Mr. Corey Williams. He's the CEO of Epic Health, for his enthusiasm in providing this service to our community. Attended the Metropolitan Planning Organization and was honored to be selected as the chairman for the 2025 term. And thank you to Mr. Eddie Height for being there and making that nomination. Attended along with my colleague, Mr. Ingram, the note burning ceremony at Swansonville Pentecostal Holiness Church. And congratulations to Pastor Mike Harp and the congregation on the retirement of the loan of the beautiful sanctuary and fellowship hall. Attended the Beautification Committee meeting last night, and thanks go out to Mike Taylor, Sheriff, who spoke to the committee about their plans to purchase trail cameras. The discussion involved where and how to install the cameras, and I think there's going to be an article in the paper coming up shortly to give more detail on that. They're going to be looking to monitor and report offenders of trash littering in the county, suggested vendors, and cost for the purchase of these cameras. The committee will be applying for grants to obtain the funds for the cameras. And lastly, I want to pass on and remembrance Mr. Philip Hilton. He was a member of the Dry Fork Volunteer Fire Department, but he was not acting in that capacity. At the time of his accident out there on Dry Fork Road, he was working for Tim Shelton, and unfortunately, he and a person that he was working with, they were killed by electrocution. The funeral was held on February 8th, so I'd like to keep his wife, Brenda, and the family in prayers. That was a tragic accident. I was in Richmond at the time that happened, but I went out and visited with his family right after that. So keep them in your prayers, and thank you to everybody, all the first responders, the linemen, the people out there that are spending their time 24/7 making sure we have power, heat, and everything is safe for us. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. Mr. Whittle.
You always make me follow them, don't you?
Even when I'm up here,
it just worked out that way.
I just want to thank all the staff and I do want to thank the firefighters and everybody's out doing their thing, and God bless everybody flying and hope they can land safely, not like the other ones did, but they did live through it last night. So just bless them, bless the airlines, and bless everybody else. See you next month.
Thank you so much, Mr. Whittle. Mr. Height, Vice Chair.
Would like to thank everyone who came out tonight. I enjoy seeing people want to be involved in their community, their passion. I appreciate it. I want to thank, as we've all reiterated with the ice storm the other week, so many people in this community pitched in, pulled together, from volunteers to paid staff. I'd like to give a shout out to our 911 staff, dispatchers, and thank you for the dispatchers in the city. Working together, we made sure the calls got answered. Hopefully we won't have a major ice storm again, but rest assured we're working on getting the generator up and running. So if it happens again, we should be in good shape, hopefully, as long as it waits. I'd like to thank the Laurel Grove Fire Department inviting me down the other month for their annual banquet. It was a joy. They had a couple there from the mountains of western North Carolina that several of the firefighters went out there, fed people, and Larry Strader and his group out there is amazing what they, not just there in their community. They reached out and fed thousands of people out there. And I got to meet a couple from western North Carolina and talk to them.
How about that?
And it was very heart-moving. Prayers go out for all those in our Virginia, Tennessee, Kentucky mountains in the last few days that have experienced another round of massive life-taking floods. Folks, we need to be thankful where we're here in Pennsylvania County. We had an ice storm, but we survived. Those folks that had those floods the other day, a lot of them didn't survive. We live in I think it's just a great area of the country. We get 4 seasons most of the time, hot and cold. We'd like to ask your prayers for the folks out in our Ringgold community, Ringgold Fire and Rescue. In just the last 2 weeks, we've lost 2 longtime members. Bobby Jean Atkinson was on a chairman of the board out there for many, many years. Just a great, great man in the community. And most recently, this past Sunday, Jimmy Holly, who was our longtime chief, Mike Neal, his brother-in-law passed away. There's just that, it's tough when you lose those pillars. They may not have been active, but they were there if you needed advice or if you needed to talk. And we just ask your prayers for those folks. Look forward to what the good Lord has for us next month.
Thank you, Mr. Height. All right, to my colleagues, I want to express my gratitude from this position. You guys make it easy to work with. I enjoy our dialogue and communication, and I think that's critically important, and you're going to continue to hear me preach, not only to this board, but to the entire county, that we have to protect our branding and imaging is critically important because we're the face of the county, and, as others look to bring companies and industry to this county, it's important that they look at us and they see good, solid, sound leadership in place, and that we're at least trying to work together. We're not going to agree on everything, but at least we are making an attempt to make decisions that are going to be for the betterment of the entire county in its totality. I want to thank the staff for working so hard to put everything together for us. I especially want to thank our unsung heroes, the county staff that was actually out there, that works for community development and other areas, that worked during their 3-day weekend to assist in terms of trying to get power back to our residents. That's just wonderful when they will sacrifice of themselves and their time. Obviously, not trying to follow this preacher over here to my right, but as he was sharing, your heart can't help but go out to all of those people out in Los Angeles that lost their homes, and the people in western North Carolina that lost their homes. And here's what we must consider. We've had a couple of days of inconvenience last week, but even if you went and checked into a hotel to get away from a dark house or cool house, at least you had a house to go back to. And there are people out there that are hurting that we need to remember in prayer, and remember that we are so very blessed that we have a house and a roof to go back to. Even though sometimes we might lose a little power, that we have to have patience. That'll come back home. To all of those linemen that were climbing those poles and those that were working on the electricity and getting that up for the residents in the county. A lot of people on Facebook were seeing negative stuff, a lot of mean-spirited stuff. I understand that out of frustration, but let me just tell you, I was out there, I talked to a couple of guys, they said, Mr. Tucker, we had to use the chainsaw and we had to cut for 4 hours before we could start working on actually repairing the power line. So I thank them for just their tenacity and sticking to it throughout the entire week and weekend to try to get us up and running. And having said that, again, I thank the public for coming out tonight. Deputy Clerk, a little anxious, says we got all these folks signed up, and that means X amount of time. We're going to let everybody speak. As long as I'm in the chair, we're going to be respectful. We're going to let people speak and express their issues, okay? And with that, thank you all for all that you do, okay? Mr. Shorter, you got anything for us?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just want to reiterate some things that have been said tonight. During our last storm event, not only our first responders that went out and worked throughout the storm, but we also had a number of county departments and employees in those departments that made sure that essential government functions continued and carried forward, and I just wanted to bring a recognition to them at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Shorter. Mr. Evans.
Mr. Chairman, yes, it's been said that the joy we feel has little to do with the circumstances of our lives and everything to do with the focus of our lives. Just come to mind as we've met here tonight. I appreciate the focus of this board and the capabilities and the competence and the commitment of those that work for the county. It's a great work to be a part of.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. And with that, we're going to stand adjourned.